Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today. Welcome to filmandtvreview.com. Catch the latest film, TV and streamed show reviews every week. The views and opinions expressed by the authors and those providing comments are theirs alone. They do not reflect the views, opinions or position of filmandtvreview.com or their respective parent companies or affiliates. Filmandtvreview.com makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information in this program and is for entertainment purposes only. Episodes may contain adult humor and language. For full terms and conditions, see filmandtvreview.com.
Hello and welcome to June-July edition of Film and TV Review. We'll be looking at the releases for this summer month. I'm joined by my regular hosts, Richard, Alfonso, and Andrew. Got a few titles that made on Film and TV. The Life of Chuck, The Return, 28 Days Later, Jurassic Park, or World Rebirth, Sarat, Megan 2, Ironheart, F1, and of course the latest season and most season finale of Squid Game, season 3. So, welcome, and let's start off with Richard, who saw The Life of Chuck. Yes, Richard, just give it a rundown of that, of The Life of Chuck. What's
It's gonna be tough to talk much about the premises of this movie without going into spoiler, so I'm gonna try to be careful. The Life of Chuck actually is an adaptation of a Stephen King novel or short novel or whatever. When you say that, I guess that you can imagine, if you know not much about Stephen King, you might think actually there's gonna be something scary or whatever, because he's kind of well known for that kind of genre. It's definitely not scary at all. The Life of Chuck is, first of all, it has an amazing cast. Let's face it. The one actually that is on all the posters is Tom Hiddleston, although perhaps he's not actually the main. He doesn't play well. He plays the main character, but he's not on screen most of the time. Yeah, but I told you it's gonna be tough actually to avoid spoilers. So Tom Hiddleston in this movie. Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill is in this movie. The people from the MCU are this movie, not only Tom Hiddleston. There is also Chiwetel Ejiofor in this movie, Karen Gillan in this movie, the kid from Room, Jacob Tremblay in this movie. It is narrated by Nick Offerman, so it has a nice cast. And let's put it this way: the movie is divided in three. It's a three-parter movie, and like in a play, you have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It starts with Act 3, and then it goes back in time, in a way. So it starts straight away with and that's actually the past 5 minutes. the Act 3 is literally the beginning of the end of the world. That's how the movie starts, to give you an idea. But again, it's not a scary and not a sad movie, by the way. But it starts with kind of the beginning of the end of the world. And this act, the first act, stars characters played by Karen Gillian and Chiwetel Ejiofor. And they are witnessing the collapse of society and then the world around them. So it's not a very, very optimistic start, obviously. Then something very interesting, kind of mysterious things happen at the same time. Then it ends, the first act. Then the second act is focused more on a character played by Tom Hiddleston, who is some kind of accountant, and he's just one day of his life, perhaps one of his best day of his life, where he's enjoying life very much. And the third act is a character played by Jacob Tremblay and his relationship with his grandfather, I think, or great uncle, whatever, played by Mark Hamill. And it's his childhood, teenage years, and kind of coming of age, kind of half-hour movie. And I will not say more, but it just to give you an idea, but it's not three different movies. It's just actually that they are obviously connected. I can't say just more, but I would say it's the whole movie is about appreciating the moments in your life that matter, and appreciating even more because we all are dying in a way. Even when we are born, we know that actually at some point there is an expiry date. Sorry, and that's actually the message of the movie. So in a way, it talks about a sad thing, which is death of people you love and your own death. But it is definitely written in a way that actually it's kind of trying to think about the English word that I'm trying to use here. It's an hymn, an anthem to life in French, we could say, an hymn à la vie. And that's what the movie is in an hour and a half. It's extremely positive in a way, surprisingly. And yeah, it's one of those movies that actually it's very uplifting. Is that the right word? And honestly, yeah, it was an extraordinary, it's very great surprise. If you don't watch any trailer like I did, you don't know what to expect. You are surprised after 5 minutes. You don't know what it's gonna be the next half an hour, then the next half an hour. And when you see the whole picture at the end, yeah, it was one of the best cinema experience of the year for me afterward.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you don't really get those enough films. Usually they make it onto streaming nowadays, but I think they had a cinema release in the States. I think it did. I'm not pretty sure, but not sure. But
no, I recommend it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good too. Right. Next. This is the return. I think this is Ralph Fiennes and Juliette Binoche doing a kind of version of the Odyssey. This is I know there's a big other project with Christopher Nolan, much lauded in a couple of years' time.
Oh yeah. I didn't think about it.
Yeah. This looked really good because you got some really great top-notch talent here, and
yeah, that's the reason why I went to see it. Actually.
Yes, I wanted to see this. I didn't get it. It was a very short release window in the theaters and more on the independent one. But is it as good as I think it is or looks? Because no.
Well,
no.
Again, it's always personal opinions here. That I'm not a movie critic, obviously. It's personal opinion. As much as I recommended like a Life of Chuck, I don't see how I can recommend The Return. I mean, yes, great actors, both of them. Ralph Fiennes, Juliette Binoche in France, and not only in France, but in France, she's like a legend. And in a way, yeah, I saw them on posters thinking, is that a sequel to what was it? Constant Gardener? Oh no, the English Patients, where the English Patients were together 20, 30 years ago. No, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is what you just said. But let's say that actually it is the Odyssey but the boring part of the Odyssey, which is in a way, the Odyssey is supposed to be, I'm guessing that's what Nolan's gonna do next year. It's gonna be like this very big quest of so in French is Ulysse or Odysseus, whatever, coming back from Troy and trying to come back and facing so many challenges or supernatural challenges to go back to his wife Penelope. Okay, fair enough. So this could be very interesting. Now you have The Return, which is a movie, the same story, but from the point of view of Penelope, who is literally waiting on an island for a husband who she thinks is dead, and she's the only one who thinks that maybe she's not dead. He's not dead. Maybe he will come back one day. And it's true that when you read l'Odyssée, it's true actually that the story is that, but it's like one line, so it's not a movie. But technically, there's a lot of like princes of different kingdoms, whatever, who want actually to replace Ulysse as the king of whatever the land they are, and they all want to marry Penelope, and she keeps saying, no, 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 I will wait for my husband to come back. And that's the movie. The movie is her saying, no, 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 I don't want to marry you. There's like fights between all these guys for this woman. Not real fight, but yeah, sometimes it's kind of bloody, but come on. And but at the same time, I find who plays Ulysse is actually reaching the shores of his land. So he came back, but for some reason I still don't understand quite clearly about in my head. He reaches the shores at the beginning of the movie. So for 2 hours, he's on this one side of this island. He pretends to be some kind of homeless guy. He doesn't go to the capital to say, "Hey, I come back. Hey, here I am." And he just leaves his wife in sadness and sorrow and for no reason whatsoever. And he waits so long just to say, "Here, I'm back," etc. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. And yeah, and nothing much happens, to be honest. Yeah, it's almost over. I mean, the two of them are extremely good. Juliette Binoche is extraordinary in what she has to do, but every single one of the supporting actor, the ones who actually wants to marry her, they are terrible. They are terrible. I mean, it's so sad. It's almost like they almost play like sorry, Alfonso, like a telenovela. Honestly, it's all sometimes the scenes look like a telenovela. So yeah, thinking, okay, what the hell is going on here? So yeah, if you want to fall asleep, you have problems of sleeping at what time, watch The Return on TV, on streaming, and trust me, you're gonna fall in 5 minutes. So yeah, that's my point.
Oh, that is disappointing.
Yeah.
It looked like almost like a good play almost. There's going to be some quite philosophical musings, especially this is backbone of a classical, Greek legend.
Yeah.
And great talent, but
It's
all
sad.
right.
Yeah.
Sad. That is a bit sad. Anyway, ooh, all right then. Right. Speaking of a return, our next film is a long gestating return to, I guess, a genre-defining movie back in the day by Danny Boyle. That was like 28 hours later, or was it, or whatever it was. But here is 28 days later, or 28 years
Sorry.
later,
Before
actually.
I'm gonna leave Alfonso Andrew to speak because I spoke too much already. But are we talking about 28 days later or 20
No, I think we
years
were
later?
talking about 28 years
Ah,
later.
okay, 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 okay,
Sorry, that was me.
okay.
But yeah, with 28. Yes, well, obviously, it was originally back in the day about these zombie kind of like redefining a movie back in the day, which was very popular, and sort of a whole lot of other spin-offs and side projects on film and TV. The zombie apocalypse. But now, like 28 days later, Danny Ward takes up the reins again, and I'm wondering if it does show us anything new. Is there any life in the old corpse yet? And let's see, Richard, Alfonso, and Andrew, you all saw this. Alfonso, why don't you start and tell us, was this long-awaited uh, film worth the wait?
To me, it was.
Mhm.
I wasn't waiting for it. I wasn't expecting it
No.
after this break of a few years since the last one, the 28 weeks later, I think it was the second part. But it wasn't very good. I thought it was thrilling. It is about this family who lives in an island and needs to go inland to get, I guess, food, or I don't know exactly what they were doing there, but I guess they need to go there for something. I don't know if I missed that part, but they actually go out of the island, and there's this father and basically his son, his 12-year-old son, who is starting to go outside with him with like a bow to hunt zombies. For some reason, they he wants to teach him how to manage in the wild with zombies, and that's how it starts. And then things develop in, I would say, thrilling ways, in different ways. There is basically the one who is basically the center of the film, who is struggling with everything new that is happening around him and things that he doesn't fully understand, is the son, played by Alfie Williams. And the film is basically his journey about understanding what is happening around him and also inside of his family, let's say, a little bit. So it had depth and at the same time many thrilling chases with zombies and adventure, and in the end a little madness, I would say. Well, I mean, it's all this madness, but but as the movie progresses, the craziness also does, and in a way that you cannot buy it, I guess. I felt the tension, and that's difficult with these modern blockbusters, to feel the tension. And this one had tension, good horror even, from beginning to end. So I'm not complaining. It's one of the best summer releases.
Andrew, do you agree? It was quite heavy praise there.
I would say for the most part. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, the trailer, when it first debuted, it was doing very well view-wise. I mean, it got to however many millions of views. A lot of people were really excited about it. I don't know if these were people that had seen the first film, because 28 Days Later wasn't available on a lot of home video or other platforms for a long time. I mean, it was re-released recently ahead of this film. And then there's 28 Weeks Later. So I'm not sure about the status of that in terms of viewership, but there definitely was a lot of excitement. And I think the film itself is a little different than maybe the trailers kind of made it out to be. Yeah, there's stuff from the trailers that's in there, including the Rudyard Kipling poem and the scenes. But I think the trailer made it out more as sort of like a action thriller with, this is not that. This is more of a family drama about people trying to survive. And I wouldn't call it a total apocalypse. I don't know how much of this is spoilers if you haven't seen the other films. But basically what's going on is just confined to Great Britain. Or rather, Great Britain. I wouldn't say the UK in general, because Northern Ireland wouldn't be impacted because that's a different island.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so basically it's Great Britain, England, Wales, Scotland, and most of what's going on takes place on this island that's kind of just off the coast of Scotland. And the other thing too is that a lot of the name actors, like Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, Ray Fine, yeah, they appear, but the main character is the kid, as Alfonso mentioned. So it's definitely different, and it also led to some filming choices because the infectees, you expect them to not really wear clothes because the clothes would have gotten worn off, and there were certain rules about filming with someone underage, so they had to kind of follow those rules. That being said, I would say it was generally a good apocalyptic drama, generally. And Jodie Comer, you're kind of wondering what's going on with her character. I won't say much about that, but yeah, she is good in the film. And Ray Fine is good in those scenes where you see him. It doesn't appear that much, but he's good. There's also some other character who appears briefly who's from Sweden, so you get a sense of what's going on in the rest of the world. And I think there's maybe a little bit of retcon there for this one piece of fan fiction that I read, that they didn't know what happened at the end of 28 Weeks Later, which brings me to what happens in 28 Weeks Later. If you've seen that film, some of this may feel like a little bit of a retcon. I won't go into details about that. I'll just say that they acknowledge it, and you do see clips from it. But, if you come into this from 28 Weeks Later, you're kind of like, the second film, you're kind of like, well, how come? And they acknowledge it, but it's kind of like, they just want the story to be contained to where it is. I guess that's Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's choices. And the other thing is about that ending. So generally, I thought the film, I liked it, but the ending was, for a couple of reasons. Tonally, it's very, very different. It's like you're watching very serious, as I said, apocalyptic drama. I mean, somewhat apocalyptic because it's just Great Britain affected, but it's very serious in tone. And then you get to the end, which feels like it's a very different movie tonally. And there's also, without getting to spoilers, nods to a certain individual from the UK, real life person. And it may not be as known outside the UK, but for better, or I'll say for worse, talk about that. But I went with a group of people here in the US, and they had no idea what was going on. Why are they wearing those outfits, and what's up with that? And then they spoke to some people from the UK, and they're like, yeah, that's a choice. So certainly a controversial figure in the UK that's being alluded to. I guess that'll be talked about more in the next film, in The Bow and Temple. But yeah, I guess people were kind of wondering what was going on, and now that I know, it's sort of like, okay, that just makes me go, I won't say too much again because of spoilers, but I will say that these stories take place in an alternate universe, so that may have something to do with it. And the idea is that the point of divergence, where diverges from our own reality, is the real life year in which the first movie came out, 2002. So things took a turn in the cinematic universe, of 2002, where this infection goes across the Isle of Great Britain. And so the reason I'm mentioning that is because it takes place in an alternate universe, that when you get to that ending, it's sort of like certain things just kind of were not necessarily known in 2002, in the alternate version of 2002, that they would have, or the alternate version of the present, I should say. But again, I'm not going to go too much into that because of spoilers. So the movie as a whole, I thought was pretty good. I just, even though it is a little different tonally from the trailer, but the ending is kind of like, what's up with that? So hopefully they explain what that is in the Bone Temple. Otherwise, it feels like it belongs to a completely different film. So,
Hey, Richard, just a
Yeah,
different
I'm not
opinion,
gonna
kind of
wait
slightly.
up to, no, I enjoyed the movie overall. The only thing that I wanted to add, something I mentioned to myself after watching the movie, is that in a way, unfortunately for this movie, fortunately, um, it's coming in 2025. And what I mean is that in the 2000s, it was fresh new idea to try to do a zombie revival in movie theaters, and it was done very well. I don't like horror movie much, but I definitely am a big Walking Dead fan. And when you release a movie like this after what 200 plus episodes of Walking Dead, plus the spin-offs and the spin-offs of the spin-offs and the spin-offs of the spin-offs, um, it's hard for personally to be afraid and to be scared by zombies anymore, or to try to not to think, okay, I've seen these situations 1,000 times already. When you are, I don't know, you are chased by zombies in a house, whatever. So in a way, yes, it's nothing against the movie itself, but yeah, unfortunately, I feel actually that it's not. It's just one too many, actually, zombie thing, in my opinion. We have The Last of Us, which was an extraordinary success, both on video games and on as a TV show. Um, yeah, the pop culture moment for the zombies, in my opinion, is in the past. And I don't know. Yeah. Now, that being said, nothing to do with the movie itself. The movie was indeed great acting, great pacing. I didn't look at my watch, and it was interesting. I don't like the idea that there is a need of a sequel and a trilogy or whatever, which is now everything needs a trilogy apparently, an horror movie, but or especially horror movies. But yeah, and yeah, about the last 5 minutes, yeah, I thought I was watching Power Rangers. For anyone who has seen the movie, will understand. But yeah,
oh, actually, I did want to add that this does do something with the infected that, it doesn't just have them be like we saw in the previous two films where they're just kind of mindless. It does kind of show them evolving and showing their own little society, I guess, if you want to call it that, whatever your thoughts are on that. But it does show them evolving as more than just what they were in the previous two films or what you see in other types of zombie, like Walking Dead or Train to Busan or something like that. There is kind of a sense that there's a culture, I guess, that they have in their own way. And that is kind of talked about a little bit in the film. So maybe to talk about it more in the next film, I don't know, but that is something that maybe makes it stand out a little bit more than other things of this genre or subgenre.
it's fair.
Right. Another long-standing franchise that they've dug up. Let's say it's our next big, I guess, summer release. Kind of kicking off the big summer pictures is Jurassic World Rebirth. So it's Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and there's a few other stars kind of like populate another visit to the Jurassic Park franchise. I mean, they did tend to do well, but let me see. It was Andrew, Alfonso. You both saw this in the cinema, and is it? I think it's quite passable. It's directed by I think who was it?
Gareth had
Yeah, who's usually does some good experience with monsters and FX. So let's see, Andrew, what did you think, Alfonso? Alfonso, Alfonso Sustar, what did you think of Jurassic World Rebirth. Maybe give us a bit of the premise. Not that I'm sure it needs explaining, but
Well, the
what
premise is quite
angle do we have?
the premise is quite meta, actually, because it's about in this world, the dinosaurs can just live in certain parts of the world, and people have just like a little bit forgotten about them. They're just like, oh, they are so in the past, like in the recent past. Like they are not in fashion anymore in our world. We have forgotten about them. They are just they were everywhere, and now we don't care about them. So it's a little bit meta about asking the audience, do you still care about this franchise? Well, we're gonna try to start it again, and they started again by literally killing them all. And but just a few of them that are in this kind of area in the Latin America, Central America, where they can survive, because they have the right whatever conditions, weather like or temperature or whatever. I don't know how to explain it. I wouldn't say it's very scientific, because like they say something about the level of oxygen, and I don't think more or less you have it everywhere in the earth. But okay. Anyway, they are there. Okay. And now there's a big corporation that hires mercenaries because they want to extract DNA from 3 big species that live in the water, in the air, on the earth. And they want to create some kind of, let's say, cure for coronary diseases, diseases of the heart, let's say, and that would save a lot of lives. So the team gets assembled, and they go into this kind of place in a very concrete island, where they have both. I mean, the three of those, all those 3 species, which is, I don't remember, but it's like pterodactyl, mosasaurus, and the other one that everyone is looking at in amazement in the first movie when they are in the car. So, well, that's the premise. They had to take blood from those 3 species to get the cure for coronary diseases. Yeah, kind of like
familiar. Okay.
Okay, that's the thing. It's an expedition that has Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, Mahershala Ali, Rupert Friend, it's crying people, and so the movie itself, I think it's plays it very safe, very safe. Gareth Edwards is a very good director for this kind of movie, because he does like these big vistas, big backgrounds with monsters like no one else. Yeah. He can do these amazing landscapes in pictures, like put it on film and just looks amazing. It's an adventure, like a matinee adventure film with lots of big dinosaurs appearing everywhere. There's also a family involved, which I thought kind of steal the movie from the main characters, if there are some main characters, because they can't. But the family that is there also, because they are quite unaware of the dangers of the area. You kind of empathize with their story, and to me they have even the most tense sequel scene of the whole film. That is their first scene actually in the film, but yeah. So in general, not to be very long, I enjoyed it for what it was, because I like dinos. I like people being in danger because of dinos. I didn't mind some of the alterations to those things, and I thought that the sequences were good. I just thought I would have preferred that I mean, I know that it's for all audiences more or less, but a little bit more of the danger of you don't know exactly who's gonna win, who's gonna be eaten or not, or something happens that you don't expect. Here is everything is played very safe, very like adventure for teens and kids even.
Okay. Quite straightforward. Andrew, is there kind of like over familiar, or did you find it's like promising that this franchise can actually be semi-resurrected? It does well generally because it's kind of like a not that challenging, but nice to look at. What did you think, Andrew?
Well, I think at this point it's just kind of doing more of the basics of being in an island and running from dinosaurs, or trying to not to get into too many bad situations, either directly or indirectly because of the dinosaurs. Uh, but I mean, it's certainly not like, I guess the previous films tried to do this whole world building thing, and with the locusts in the previous film, and this doesn't do any of that. It's just basically they're going to this island, they're trying to get DNA to for this pharmaceutical company to as Alfonso was saying, and that's basically what happens is, there's nothing complicated about, conspiracy this or conspiracy that. There's not as many nods to things. I mean, there are nods. There's references to InGen, the company from the previous films, and you'll hear familiar names or places uh, discussed. But overall, it's a new group of characters. It's kind of like a soft reboot is expression, I think, because it's not a reboot. It's the same continuity as all the other films, but new group of characters, new situations. It's just same continuity. So you don't have to be like, oh, okay, we're starting all over this whole thing. A lot of reviews or things that people posted online were like complaining about the first half hour, saying it was kind of slow. I mean, I didn't think that was the case. I mean, they got to set some story up, and it can't just be like dive right in. So I wasn't bothered by the first half hour. I mean, some people are like talking about, it's like Gareth Edwards' 2014 Godzilla movie. I don't really put it like that. I don't think it's like that, really. That being said, I'm not sure if it's necessarily a movie for me. I mean, I get it. It's something fun, entertaining, but I kind of feel like I've already seen this. So, there's new characters, but the same kind of situation. There's dinosaurs, there's peril, there's good dinosaurs and bad dinosaurs, and there's a family, and even the family gets into danger. Nothing too bad is going to happen to them because they're a family in a Jurassic Park film, so nothing too bad can. That's just the way it is. You got to have danger, but not too dangerous, I guess. And the other thing is that they have these new hybrid dinosaurs, I guess, or whatever you want to call them, because there's been a lot of DNA experimentation, crossbreeding with dinosaurs and other species. So, I mean, it would have been nice to have seen some more of those creatures, I guess, the Distortus and the Mutodon, or whatever they were called, the different crossbreeds. Yeah, it would have been nice to have seen more of them, and it is something a little bit more unique. I wish I had done more of the idea of that kind of experimentation, and issues about the pharmaceutical companies and what they can or can't get away with. And there's a lot of more serious things being alluded to here, real world issues, but I guess because people aren't really going to see these films for that, they kind of just want to see the dino action, or dinos, or whatever, as you were saying.
The Italian dinos. I think I think it's, I guess, bakes back to chasing, running, eaten the dinosaurs. I guess it's just a nice general summer, to the kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fair enough. I think it doesn't go wrong with it. I mean, as unchallenging as it is, it's kind of just does its little job, but kind of thing as well. So
I
we'll
guess
see.
so.
Interesting to see what the Bob Oscar's coming. I'm sure it'll be not
Yeah, it's doing well so far.
I,
So
I
yeah,
have
they
I have a
tend to.
question. I have a question for the three of you.
Hmm.
Just a question that comes to mind. Maybe there's no answer, by the way. How do you explain that? Yes, it is actually apparently a box office success already. That apparently it is the best opening week of the year or something like that. Uh, how do you explain actually that there is apparently a superhero fatigue, they call it, for Marvel DC? So because there's so many superhero origin movies, etc., origin stories, etc. But
I don't.
the dinosaur movies have been around for now more than 30 years. It's like what, seventh or eighth installments without counting actually. There were also animated TV shows and things like that. How do you explain actually that it is still successful? Because even the terrible, terrible Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic World Dominion, they were terrible movies. They made a lot of money. They made a lot of money. So how do you explain that it's honestly, maybe it's just a rhetorical question because I just don't get it. And but good for the guys actually. It's what Universal, because is it Universal? I think good
Yeah,
for them. But sometimes it's. But I'm not being ironic, by the way. I respect the work they do, but it's just that it's a mystery why some I won't say IP or some genre of blockbusters still work decades later and some don't.
I think it
Well,
has to do with the content and the high volume of content. And I think in the case of the MCU, there was just a lot of bad content and just so much of it because of Disney Plus that I think people just got inundated with it, and the sense that they had to do all this homework to understand what was going on. As far as Jurassic, there's not really as much content. Yeah, you have the films and we have Camp Cretaceous, but I mean, that's its own thing. There's not really the sense of like, oh, you have to do all this homework to understand what's going on. It's what it is. It's people running from dinosaurs. Basic. You don't need to watch this series or that series and make notes and all that. It's what it is. And the films are what they are. They deliver for the most part. I mean, the previous film, maybe not as much, but it had the bonus, I guess, of having the original human actors coming back. So that the legacy sequel thing. But I think without going to all these details about what works, what doesn't, I think if you just keep doing too many things that make people feel they have to do a lot of extra homework to understand something, it's going to be a turnoff. So, yeah.
I also think that it's a good mix of genres. Like, also, I mean, it's in a good mix of audiences because they can have the kids. For the adults, it's also kind of exciting. It has a little bit of horror in it, but not too much. It's about, it gives you very big effects. It works also as an adventure film. You can play more with the horror here, with the adventure there, it's usually populated also by likable human characters. And there are, as Andrew said, there are not too many of them. And once you even if you stretch it to like Dominion style, like horribility, then it comes this one that is like, you can tell this is not as bad as the last one. I still like the concept itself, and I still like the first one, and to me, I even liked very much the first one with Chris Pratt. So that many people didn't like as much, but I really liked that one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. you just keep on thinking this is gonna be as good as the first one, or as good, or have. And there are certain moments where when you still feel the excitement, or the when in this one when the John Williams team plays, they actually use it to the full extent of bringing you the emotion. It's in the right moment. It's a little bit of a in the requel territory, because very similar to other how it is used in other films, but it still works because Gareth Edwards does it very well in that way also, to bring you the emotion of being amazed by, oh my god, dinosaurs. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that it just basically, it just speaks to the fact that it can be, pardon the pun, quite a universal picture, as in you can put it in any language. You don't even have to have the sound and or the same cast. It is just a very just basic hunting or being hunted, predator prey kind of like experience that we all collectively have, I guess, whatever part of the world you are. So you're in India, you're in Africa, you're in Europe, or wherever. It's that kind of like very basic. If it's done well, yeah, of course. If it's done well, I think it's hard to not to do well. I mean, if a lot of your audiences are kids and they just want to see be a bit scared, a bit hunted, a bit animals and all that. Yeah, pretty natural film. So yeah, I think it's the more simple it is, the more you just will not get fatigued by it. But yeah,
Actually, in the movie, it says something like that. It says that the character with the least backstory, which is Jonathan Bailey's, at some point he's like the scientist, and it says I would say even the theme of the movie at some point, she says dinosaurs are not so intelligent, and because evolution has shown us that intelligence is overhyped, or it's not so important. Everyone dies in the end. Everyone gets extinct, but dinosaurs are still here, and they don't need. And we humans are so intelligent that we are basically exterminating ourselves in our planet. So maybe something simple keeps on going, and something very overcomplicated doesn't.
Yes, I'm sure there'll be Jurassic Park movies far beyond when cinemas go extinct. There'll be somewhere there'll be a movie house playing those films. Anyway, next to a smaller film, I think Sarat, which is a drama. I think a father and son go looking for, is it a daughter, I think, or a missing after in a part of a area where there's a rave or kind of a party going, but it's kind of a search, isn't it, Alfonso? Just tell me a bit about this. Seems quite heavy, darker matter, but quite interesting. Tell us a bit about Sarat, if that's premises is okay.
That's exactly the premise. A father that goes with his son, that is still a child, goes to Morocco to a rave, because that's the last place that he knew that her daughter was at. So he's there asking people if they have seen her. And that's how the movie starts. And then, well, there's some political unrest, some people fighting also in the country. And so if they want to be with other people that are going to the raves to another place of the country, there is another party, and he thinks that his daughter might be there or might have gone there. So he has to tag along with these people that are going to this party, even though it's a little bit like not very secure. And so it's kind of a journey movie, and it goes into unexpected places. Certainly, it won the jury prize at the Cannes Film Festival, and in here it has been very divisive when it premiered when it was in theaters. Some people really were touched by its themes and what it happens. Some others didn't connect with the twists, I guess, that happen in the film, because it's quite daring, I would say. Let's say in general. I mean, there are also very good like landscapes or backgrounds or views. The music is electronic, like in the one of a rave. I don't know. Myself, I liked that it was something different, that it was something to talk about after watching the film. I appreciate having watched it. I don't know. I don't want to do any spoilers. So that's that.
Okay, all for a catch. Interesting. Next, another sequel to a kind of like very popular movie from the Blumhouse studio a few years ago. It was Megan, which was a very kind of like click heavy online of this robotic, I guess it was the era of AI, I guess, which we're all in. A robot companion who came to the ownership of a family and terrorized them, kind of like a horror genre, this one. So very popular, very caught the wave of popular culture, and a very, very well written movie, I think, when you rewatch it. Of course, it was all go ahead for a sequel, which what could possibly go wrong? I think they've in this way kind of catch up with the family and how being used by the military, and so this AI seems to hell bent on finding its creator and just maybe causing chaos around the world. So they call upon to reactivate Megan or AI. Very much Terminator 2 territory, will I hear. A shift in genre. Andrew, you saw this. I saw this. I don't know if anyone else did, but it's I was expecting pleasantly some nice things because the first movie was surprisingly well written. What did you think of Megan 2.0?
Yeah, see, this was one case where, I mean, whatever I thought of the movie otherwise, I will say that it's definitely one case where it jumped out that this is definitely better than I thought it was going to be, because in the case of something like we talked about earlier today, 20 years later, and how the trailers were really good and they got people in, the trailers for this did not look really good.
No.
And it was weird because they show a lot of scenes in the trailer that are not in the movie. And usually when you show scenes in the trailer that are in the movie, you think like, oh, some good scenes, but they took them out for whatever reason. Here they show scenes that are not good, and they put it in the trailer, and it's like almost like they were trying to sabotage themselves. Like there's a scene in the trailer of people who are like fans of Megan, I guess, and they're like, oh, war, all that kind of stuff. And that's definitely not in the movie. Or a scene where she's coming out of like some kind of packaging to get a jump on someone that doesn't really appear in the movie. Without going into details. And then there's like a line in the trailer about, hands off Katie or something like that. And yeah, that doesn't appear. It's all this stuff. It's like, I'm like, why are they doing this? And then I'm like, it's like they're trying to make it more of a thing. And I don't know if they're trying to make it a thing for Pride Month or whatever in terms of their marketing. And it's like, oh yeah, they must have gotten the idea from the SNL sketch, which was called Megan 2.0. It was the episode with Aubrey Plaza, and she and Chloe Fineman played a pair of Megans, I guess. Allison Williams was also in that sketch. But in terms of the movie itself, I thought it was kind of all right. I actually got to be honest, I wasn't really that much of a fan of the first movie. I mean, the first movie, yeah, it's all right, I guess. Kind of campy, but not really so much horror. It's more like a campy something with some scary stuff. I mean, yeah, yes, you could see it as horror, but this was what it was, a sci-fi action thriller, very different genre-wise. And there's some kind of twists and turns in the story. I won't get into what those are because obviously that would be a spoilery thing, and a lot of stuff about AI and trying to regulate it. And that's what a big part of the movie drives the plot, is that after the events of the first movie, the previous film, Gemma, Alison Williams' character, is now focused on regulating AI so that stuff that like happened in the first movie doesn't happen again. And that's kind of like her thing. And it's like her and this other guy, they're very involved in that. And at the same time, she's trying to be a guardian for her niece, Katie. And then you have the whole story about the rogue AI, and these government people come to Gemma, thinking that she's somehow behind it because it's using her technology from the first film. And in case you're wondering, there's like an offhand scene in the first movie that you don't think of at the time, where the assistant of the CEO starts leaking secrets out to like rival companies. It's like a very brief scene, but not much is done with it in that movie, in the first movie. But here it's kind of like a thing. So, but they think like Gemma's behind it. They think Gemma is kind of involved in this rogue AI. And so they're kind of like, the government people are dealing with her. They're keeping tabs on her. So she has to deal with the government people. And then Megan makes a reappearance in her own way, and she has to deal with that. And the rogue AI. And also this other character played by Jermaine Clement. I wish I had seen more of him. So there's a lot going on. It is campy, the film. I felt campy in its own way, but I think here you're kind of like, it's not as off. Maybe I guess the first film is sort of like, why are they making this campy here? It's just like they're just going with it. But there's parts that are kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a sci-fi action thriller. So it's not like trying to be horror or be scary. Some parts could be, maybe. But I would say, yeah, I think that's really what jumped out at me. Is it definitely better than I thought it was going to be, but I totally recommend it. But it's definitely like, I just can't get how bad the marketing was, because the movie isn't like that terrible by itself. And it's like they're showing scenes, as I said, that aren't even in the movie. Do they not want people? I mean, if they didn't want people to see the movie, mission accomplished. You know, that they did it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a film that really does want to like really cash in and make this a bigger icon, or almost like a hero. You almost shift into superhero territory or spy espionage territory, like Mission Impossible, and three different kind of like, it's a shift away from, hey, it's a horror psycho thriller, which was, which Blumhouse does well, and with in the background of AI and where that's going in the companionship and all that. Interesting topic. And here it is just go out and kind of a summer, let's make it a big summer franchise, which is desperate to make it. And I mean, it's fun, it's nice, but it's not as smartly written at all. It's all kind of IQ definitely took a backseat here to make it like a campy, funny action movie, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, yeah, like I said, Terminator 2, this is where definitely it's basically the plot of that, where a good AI and a bad AI, or a protective one and a more, intrusive one. I don't know. It did not catch fire, unfortunately. It did not actually take off. But I can see why they were rolling the dice on this. So it's difficult to tell, but I think criticism is that stick to what it was, maybe a horror one, but I mean, it's. I think it's a likable premise. The movie is not bad, but it is definitely more of a campy comedy at the time, and just maybe the gear. It's not as scary, so there's nothing as fearful and not as grounded,
Horror.
strangely enough, as the first movie. So maybe this is maybe why maybe it doesn't know what its market is, or or at least it tried
Well,
to.
definitely, yeah. It definitely, whatever they were doing in terms of the marketing, that wasn't quite it. It's like I
Yeah.
said, they were trying to make it more of a thing. Like, I don't know if, and I'm not going to go too much in this, but someone said somewhere that they're trying to make her into like a gay icon. I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe it is. I don't know. And being released during Pride Month, that's one of the reasons why they released it in June. But the person,
It was a wide net for marketing, I think. Let's just see what demographic really gives us like that boost. So, it's like, who knows? You know what? Ironically, if they find their feet maybe a Megan free on a lower budget, maybe I wouldn't stop them. I think, it's,
well, there's a spinoff.
yeah, or something, possibly.
Well,
Yeah.
no, they've already filmed the
Oh,
spinoff.
they've already filmed the spin-off.
It's coming out early next year, so I don't know what's going to.
Wow, then the onslaught of
But
AI. Well,
yeah, no,
okay.
it's called Soulmate. Is supposed to be more of like
Oh,
an
yes.
erotic thriller or something. So
Oh,
that's filmed. I guess it's going to be in cinemas, not streaming, but we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. It's not terrible. It's just that it is what it is, I guess. Well, speaking next, another maybe rebooted, or rebooted, but more a continuation of a legacy, or again in the world of AI robotics, is from Marvel, TV series, a very long gestating project, Ironheart from Marvel Studios, which is a TV show, a very much a miniseries that is really pushed out into large chunks, really. Ironheart follows, I think, a graduate genius, which I think got alluded to in the Black Panther movies. I think the second one of
Mm,
Riri Williams or so
mm,
forth. It's a more of a street kid who talented with robotics, who's kind of a graduate student and taking, maybe a bit of the Stark legacy of, building suits and so forth. But she finds herself in a different neck of the woods, definitely with her background and her economic circumstances, and how she is navigating her way with, these her talents and technology, and how to make money. Obviously, was important to her, but it's a yes. Well, let's see. It was Richard Alfonso and well, myself saw this, but Richard, you made it through all 6 episodes?
yeah.
Um, a lot of online saying it's terrible or not, but it's well put. I think a lot of it is well put together. What did you think, Richard, of this series?
I just had what is the expression in English? I had an epiphany. Having an epiphany?
You
Is
had
that
an
the
epiphany. An epiphany.
epiphany?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you had an
yeah.
epiphany. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not kidding. I just while you were talking, I just realized something about Iron Art, but I didn't realize for last week. Iron Art is the acolyte of the MCU. This is interesting, and I'm not even kidding
Heavy
because
words.
now I just realized there's so many things in common. Unfortunately for this TV show, there's so many things in common. So yeah, you will see where I'm getting at.
Yeah, I'd love to see you unpack that.
Yeah. So yeah, why I'm saying that
Yeah.
who at the beginning of the movie, the TV show, sorry, is in MIT, so pretty smart, obviously. Teenager, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years old, something like that. And like she was introduced already, as you said in Black Panther 2, she managed somehow, because she's very smart, to recreate or create another version of the Iron Man suit for herself. And in this TV show, we can see a backstory, the fact actually that she faced some tough moments in her life, especially losing during a shooting. She lost actually her best friend and her stepdad or dad or
Yeah, her stepdad
whatever.
gets shot in a drive-by. Yeah.
Apparently, especially the best friend thing that actually affected her. But anyway,
Mm.
and yeah, in a way, the movie is about two things: about using her intelligence, her brains for good or for bad, and also try to accept the death of her best friend, especially because the best friends. I don't know. Can we talk about all spoilers, right? We don't care.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So I didn't get that. I did not understand that part of the TV show, to be honest. But somehow, she connects the suit to her brain, and by doing so, she creates an holographic version of her best friend.
Yes, an AI version. I think it just she falls asleep and inadvertently, and it's done so quickly.
I mean, no,
Remember, she is a genius, so you won't get
I'm
it,
not sure I
Richard.
understood
You
quickly.
won't get it. Yeah, you won't understand, Richard.
Anyway, but yeah, but that's actually the best part of the TV show, to be fair. The relationship between the two. I thought actually, by the way, to be fair, the acting is pretty good overall. The two
Yes.
girls, the bad guy who is trying to recruit her to do bad things with a suit, which is kind of doing some kind of
Anthony
heist.
Ramos.
You think it's a heist? Yeah, Ramos. Heist, but actually you can see that he has his own agenda. So the TV show is honestly, you get invested in it, in my opinion, quite quickly. I'm not kidding. It was a nice surprise because of this story. But while I was watching it, I was thinking, I kind of don't care that it is connected to the MCU, because it could have been, honestly, forget about the suit, forget about Iron Man, forget about Black Panther, forget about everything that is connected to the comic stuff. There is a good TV show here about a kid who is very smart from a difficult neighborhood and who is actually had lost someone very important in her life, and now for some reason she has to face the face of this person every day, so it's even more difficult to accept the death. There were actual interesting topics in this show, and I don't see why it needed to be an MCU stuff. But anyway, if it wasn't the MCU stuff, it would have been better. And now about the acolyte stuff, and I would end on this. Like Acolyte, like most of the TV shows on Disney Plus, but especially Acolyte, I talk about that. You have 6 episodes. 5 of them are a story about this girl and nothing to do with the MCU, etc. And you say, okay, decent. And then you have one final episode when you have some kind of huge reveal for the MCU, and you would never expect that it would be in a TV show like this that nobody's going to watch. And you say, okay, but guys, did you know when you were doing this show that there will not be a second season, but you will actually dig your own grave? Because again, what is the guy who planned these things? Why do you introduce such an important character in a TV show that is already dead? And no pun intended, talking about dead, the character I'm talking about, so all spoilers, close your ears, whatever. So is Mephisto. Mephisto has been mentioned several times in the MCU for the last 5 years, already in the WandaVision, already in Agatha Harkness, whatever the name of the TV show was.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a very big villain in the Marvel comics. And he's obviously, because of his name, Mephistopheles, etc., he's kind of the Satan or Lucifer of the MCU. And the episode when he introduced, that's why I'm telling you, Jason, it's worth watching the 6 episodes only. Don't watch everything else.
Well, I did the opposite. I got up to episode 5. I was going to do episode 6.
You're
I fell
missing
asleep.
so much. You're missing so much, man. Because it's, again, no spoiler, because IMDb, the IMDb page of Ironheart said that Sacha Baron Cohen was playing Mephisto before the release of Ironheart.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And he does a good job, Sacha Baron Cohen, at what he does. He's like very like Faust. The from Goethe, from the etc. The idea actually that you have to deal with the devil, etc. You have to make a deal with the devil to get something that you really want, and your soul is given to the devil, etc. This is the whole episode 6, and it has consequences for the future. A lot of consequences. I would not say more about the future of the MCU. And again, I'm surprised. Why do they choose to use Ironheart as the stepping moment, stepping stone to actually to have Mephisto introduced. That's so weird. And the Acolytes did the same with Dark Plagueis. So that was my comparison. But anyway.
Yeah, I see. I mean, for the show itself, leading up to that, like I think you said, it's got a lot going for it. And its strength actually is because it is so removed from any other of the MCU, the bigger events. It has it's very well produced, some nice music choices, very well shot. It's almost like semi-film, as in the energy and the production value. So you're thinking, yeah, and you don't want to be like we mentioned with like Jurassic World. You can just watch this on his own. I don't, not to be like burdened with the homework. Oh, who's this? Who's that? Who's whatever. It doesn't really matter. So it makes it a bit more palatable and just enjoyable for what it is. It is well put together. Performances are pretty good. As even though the writing you wouldn't warrant it, but and it moves at quite a good enough pace. But it's yeah, I'm not sure this is going to be really picked up in any kind of other second season because this is kind of like maybe there's a perception that it's missed its window of relevancy. Who knows? Alfonso, did you enjoy Ironheart as much as maybe we've just discussed, or you think you can see why this is
Well,
best less forgotten?
just as Richard, more or less. I enjoyed it more in the later episodes, but I don't know if that's because I enjoy more the themes of, I mean, the, how can I say it? Also I don't know, it has those Anthony Ramos plus Sacha Baron Cohen plus Alden Ehrenreich. I don't know if that's how to say it. And all of them are doing interesting stuff, sometimes funny, sometimes a little bit I don't know, like menacing. So I guess the premise of a girl who is very intelligent and constructs robots that she uses as armor is not something that is meant for me as a viewer. But once you start having all the other components and something that I didn't expect, which was spoiler again, yeah, but magic in the MCU, which is almost, to me, it's almost more important than having Mephisto itself. But yeah, it's more or less the same thing. But magic? You're telling me that a series that starts with MIT and a girl who builds robots ends up with that same girl having to add magic to the robot? It's a very interesting series. I mean, you would never expect that this kind of Agatha all along kind of thing has spread it to other series.
Yeah, it's quite a hybrid of a series. You wouldn't, I know exists already in the Marvel. We know it does. Yeah, your kind of like your magic and your science and your action and all this kind of thing. But yeah, to have them together because obviously they do exist in the Marvel universe together, but it's done. It makes it a bit more oddly fresh. That is like it's this left field kind of like contention. You're not only dealing with science and all that, but it is magic as well. It makes it fun. It makes it pop a bit,
It makes it more fun to me. Yeah, that not just because like big robots are just like, man, don't seem very exciting to me. But like you had a little bit of magic and Sacha Baron Cohen, which I don't really connect with as an actor, but this time I thought he was, because I always think that I never really, I think that his pranks have been a little bit too much, and to see him as the baddie of the series is just fitting to me. So
okay. Yeah, but yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, if you catch it, I mean, they just released it in big chunks last weekend, 3 episodes, and the other episodes just recently this week. So
It's so sad because you can see that they don't believe in their own product.
I think in retrospect now, I think beginning when it was made, I think they did, and now it's kind of like I said, they're kind of judging by the mood of the crowd where they are, and a lot of the online what's happening, they kind of like let's test that. They use it as a test of the mood more so than they used to. I think it's very important now. Social demographics, points, clicks, what they view, where the shift of opinion is or audience. Trying to second guess where your audience is coming from or what's going to hit, I guess, is a nightmare for any executive. So I think that's what they go by, and I think Marvel is going to be going into a very interesting period. I think in the next few months now, and see where the Fantastic Four film comes, and maybe what next year what happens. So it'll be interesting times ahead, really, to see what Marvel as a brand happens. But I think maybe it does need a bit more of this very interesting, smaller hybrids and see what works on its own merit. I think that's what it really needs to rely on. But anyway, that was Ironheart. Catch it if you can. Next, big cinema venture with Brad Pitt in the world of F1 racing. That's F1 the movie. Richard, you saw this. It seemed quite a lot of hype during the summer to this. So, is it as good as it promises to be? Big star,
Yeah.
big big sporting action movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. Huge marketing campaign. I don't know for UK, US, and Spain, but in France, the marketing campaign was pretty big, to be honest,
Yeah.
for this movie. I mean, seriously big. I mean, Brad Pitt or Brad Pitt literally was in different. He was in 2 different TV news channel in the last few days before the release in France. I'm talking about
Everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, and the posters everywhere. It was a strong campaign. Well, the good thing is with a title like F1 the movie, that's not very original. You know what to expect.
Yeah.
Well, it was also marketed as the Top Gun Maverick of F1 or something like that. They were comparing it. Why? Because I think well, I know it is the same director, but also I'm guessing also perhaps the crew of Joseph Kosinski is work with on this movie. And obviously Brad Pitt is also a superstar like Tom Cruise, I guess. I don't know. That's why I'm guessing by comparing it. First of all, it's not as good as Top Gun Maverick, in my opinion, but doesn't mean that it's not a good entertainment. And that's the thing, that Top Gun Maverick managed to be an extremely well done movie, visually, a great cinematic experience. But it also has a heart somehow. This one, not so much. Not so much. I mean, I'm guessing if you are a fan of Formula One, you would enjoy it. But even if you're not Formula One, if you just want to have a blast and you want to have a big screen experience and literally be inside the cockpit of a Formula One, almost feel like a F1 driver most of the time, then go watch this movie because it's very well done. So yeah, the action scenes are extremely well produced, etc. Fortunately, they are here, but they last like 10, 15 minutes, and then you have to suffer another cliche dialogue between Brad Pitt and another character who you have seen 1,000 times. But the story of the movie is terrible. I mean, not terrible, but it's just that you can see that it's been written by a guy who have seen all the movies in the world and say, okay, I'm going to do like a mix of all the things that we have seen in the last 100 years of movies. Sum it up, I'm not even kidding. This is the story of the movie. So yeah, this F1 team that apparently exists. I didn't follow much F1 these years. I followed it when I was a kid. This F1 team is not getting any points. Is bad, almost close to bankruptcy or whatever. and they try to find a solution, and the owner of this F1 team goes to see an old friend of his who used to be an F1 driver back in the 80s, 90s, played by Brad Pitt, who actually had an accident, very difficult times back in the day. He has an accident. He could have become a superstar like Senna or whatever, but he had an accident early 90s. He decided to not to drive a F1 ever again, but in a very, very original scene, he's been convinced to try again, to actually to save his friend's career and try to be the mentor of a young kid who thinks that actually is better than he really is. So he becomes the mentor of this kid who is 20 years old. And yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of hilarious. Some of the scenes are quite hilarious. There are a couple of times where they think actually that they have no hopes whatsoever, but actually that they're gonna lose all the money, and they're gonna have to actually as a declare bankruptcy, etc. And say, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then there is some kind of music. I'm not even kidding. There's a music, then the camera turns, and you have Brad Pitt arriving, walking towards the stands and towards actually the pits, and looking for, say, I heard that you're looking for a driver or something. And I think, what is going on? It is almost funny. And there are people actually laughing in the crowd because they say, it is Brad Pitt. It's Brad Pitt saving the world. It's kind of funny. Now, again, if you look at this movie, as I said, you don't take it seriously, these scenes, you will still have a great time. Again, the movie is 2 hours and a half, and I didn't look at my watch. I know I always say that, but it's true. If I don't look at my watch, it's a good sign. Sometimes I want to get out of the movie theater. That was not the case. As I said, the action scenes are really good. And I think that's no, I'm not thinking, I'm sure of it. A lot of producers of this movie are actually F1 drivers. Lewis Hamilton is one of the producers of the movie. Max Verstappen is a producer. They have cameos in the movie. They are worth millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. These guys, I'm not surprised, and I'm guessing that maybe the FIA, which is the Federal Association of Formula One, probably is behind also a bit. I did some sponsoring to push people to go back to F1, and it worked because I used to be a big fan of F1, and I gave up on watching these things. Now I want to watch again. So I'm guessing that in a way, this kind of movie for sports as a double goal, let's say, kind of like video game movies, like Minecraft, etc., or whatever. When they have a success on the movie theater, I'm guessing they hope that they will also have people buying the video games and things like that. So I'm guessing, it has a double good effect. So.
Okay. Well, it got you back wanting to get into the central driving seat again of sport and games. Well, and sport and anime and watching the sport, which is good. I mean, okay, it sounds like an advert, like one big.
An advert. Yeah, the word I'm looking for. I'm guessing it's an advert for F1, and it's a really good advert.
Okay, well, good. I think it's like you said, it's doing well. I think.
Oh, very well.
I think it would. So yeah, it's one of those things you can't predict now, but more kind of like very safe bets and so forth. But okay, yeah, all right. Oh, that's good. Well, next, I think we'll stay with Richard because another big popular franchise, I suppose, but in its own way. But just by the name alone, everyone global event, and that was you're watching Squid Game season 3. I know you had season 2 earlier in the year,
6
or
months ago.
part
6
of
months
it.
ago, yeah.
And much kind of like I was wondering how this is the finale. So is it kind of like feel like an ending to you, or is it kind of like they open the door more? Is it satisfying? Because I'm trying to meet people who it was such a global phenomena, and maybe they feel it's just a one-off that first season. But you have been watching it. Do you think it's worth the watch?
Oh yeah, 100%. And actually, to both your questions, the answer is yes, both. What I mean is that yes, it is satisfying. Yes, it is an ending, a real ending. You feel like it, but at the same time, they are not stupid enough to actually to close all the doors. So yeah, no, it's well, the phenomenon was the first season that took everyone by surprise. Yes, then like you do, that actually that they ask this creator and writer to write a second and third season, but he decided to do something smart, which is I will write a second episode together, but nothing more, and kind of nothing more. And so they released both second and second season over 6 months, between a 6 months gap. Like I think it was December 25th for Christmas that the second season was released, and now the third. The story of the first season was almost, you can say, over after the end of the first. Then the second and third season is one story over 14 episodes, literally, because there was a huge cliffhanger at the end of second season. The whole story is about this character that we were gonna call 456 because the Squid Game players have numbers. So he's the story of 456. Let's call it this way because he has a Korean name, but I don't want to butcher it. That guy was not a spoiler because the first season he won the Squid Game in the first season. But obviously, the way you win at the Squid Game, you see 400 people dying around you, obviously, and to win billions of dollars. He was not only sad, but his life felt he had no purpose in life, no whatever, etc. So he wanted to destroy the Squid Game from the inside, and that was his goal in second season and in third. That's the main storyline. The second storyline is about a guy called the Frontman, who is kind of not really the creator of the Squid Game, but the guy who represents the creator of the Squid Game, who is actually leading the bad guys who actually control these people and kill these people. The Frontman, the actor who plays the Frontman, is definitely the most interesting actor of the whole show. He's an extraordinary actor. He plays the villain who has his own agenda. He's scary, but at the same time, you understand where he's coming from. And that's actually the best villain ever. When you have a great villain and you understand his motivation, I'm not saying that you have to root for him, but at the same time, you want to know more about him. You want to know more what his backstory, etc. Everything is on his face, sometimes not even saying anything. It's very impressive. And the story of second and third season is about these two guys, these two ideologies almost about how a society and how humanity is and should be, and how they clash their ideology inside the Squid Game. It's very interesting because the second season is only Squid Game like the first season with this kind of clash sometimes. The third season is extremely depressing, extremely smart, almost much more on a philosophical level, because as I said, it's more about how can 456 win his, let's say, philosophical fight. How can he actually prove this point? And it's it makes me think a lot about our society, obviously, and in a way, and that's why it's very divisive. All the big shows in pop culture have divisive endings when you think about it. Lost, Game of Thrones, whatever. This one also is very divisive because it's a very bittersweet ending. I'm not going to say into spoilers, but it's very bittersweet. And you think, who actually won? And that's the worst part, is like, who actually won here? And now talking about opening doors, there is an ending for sure. There's no need for more. Now, that being said, because money is everything in this world, there's already spin-offs. Obviously, Netflix has managed actually to create spin-offs out of this. Not sequels, but spin-offs. One is 100% confirmed and is start production this year. I can't believe this. It's called Squid Game USA. And the character who's called the Recruiter, very important character, kind of important character in the Squid Game franchise. The US version of this character is played by a very famous Australian actress. who appears in the last 10 seconds or 5 minutes of season 3 of Squid Game, and you think, what the hell is happening? Because it's like a post-credit scene of Marvel, but has nothing to do with the show, and she appears in Los Angeles, and you say, okay, you say, was it worth it? I mean, why? So I'm not gonna say more, etc. But I'm guessing you can guess.
I'm gonna guess. I guess I'll just say the only one I get Rebel Wilson, but hopefully
No,
not.
Rebel Wilson. But yeah, and you thought, is it like a joke or something? No.
Oh dear.
Apparently, it's going to be produced by David Fincher. David Fincher is going to produce Squid Game USA. So I was
I see. Yeah.
For hours I was trying to think it was a hoax, but no, it's not a hoax. So yeah. But yeah, Squid Game is over. I mean, the original version is over. It's going to be, I'm guessing, like Money Heist, like Casa de Papel. They did a Korean version of Casa de Papel, but was a box office failure. I hope it's going to be the same for Squid Game US. And perhaps, that is not confirmed, but perhaps there will be a spin-off about the front man, the bad guy, let's say, and the Squid Game, but from his point of view. That would be much more interesting, but this hasn't been confirmed yet. It's just rumors.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Okay.
I will let you go to Google and see who I'm talking about if you want afterwards.
I'm intrigued. Watching just for that reveal.
Exactly.
I'm intrigued. Okay. Well, thanks. I think as end to this week's or month's offering. I'd like to say thank you to Richard, Alfonso, and Andrew, and for you listening. See you next time. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this film and TV review.com episode. Catch the latest film and TV reviews, together with regular episode content from the world of film and TV every week. See you soon. Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.